Hey guys, I'm Martin Cliffe and welcome to Martin's Monday pedal playthrough. In this series I take some of the pedals that are in my collection that aren't on my current pedal boards and play them with some more conventional sounding instruments so that you can get a feel for them. And hopefully as I come to sell them, I've then got video demos for them as well. So this week we're looking at the MXR Bass Preamp pedal. It's quite a subtle pedal in many ways, but what it gives you is quite a lot of flexibility. It's got a built-in DI on the side, which is really useful, with a ground lift switch and a pre and post switch, so you can set your XLR output DI signal to give you the pure tone regardless of how you've got the EQ set, and just use the EQ on the signal to your amp, or you can set it post and have the EQ affecting both things. I'm just plugged in using it as a normal pedal at the moment, and what that's giving me is a really powerful 3-band EQ with potentially a boost feature or an unboost feature if you want something that will cut your signal for a specific thing. And the mid frequency is sweepable. So if I have it set, tone is just, this is without the pedal on. Playing an American Special jazz bass with DiMarzio pickups. I've got the tone all the way up, the neck volume all the way up, and the bridge volume just rolled back a little bit to maybe 8 o'clock to get rid of that kind of out of phase hollow tone. So if I turn on the pedal, with everything set at 12 o'clock, it is not noticeable at all, which is great. So we've got an input control, which makes it louder going in or quieter. Pretty self-explanatory. The output control does the same thing, but the other side of the EQ. You might think, why is that useful? Well, it may be that you want to tweak the signal in such a way as to push the mid-range into overdrive or whatever. Then maybe you crank the input, or if you've got weaker bass and you want to have more control over it, crank the input a bit, reduce the output level, and I've never tried it, but I imagine you could get some kind of distorted signal. Let's crank the input all the way. Okay, that's not giving me any kind of drive, but let's push the mids. So it's subtle, but it gives you plenty of control. So that's with the mids all the way up at 500 Hertz. Let's take that mid control. Quite kind of boxy sounding at 200, but obviously you wouldn't necessarily have it cranked. If we pull that out instead, scoop it. Now let's move that frequency knob back up to 500. great for taming a slightly aggressive bass if you wanted a more gentle sound for a song. Might even be able to tweak it so maybe a jazz bass will sound like a P bass and vice versa. Let's pull that frequency up. It goes all the way to 1K. So again, that maybe reduces a little bit of the clatteriness with it cut. Or if we raise it up, it should make it quite bright and clangy. If you want that kind of fieldy tone, makes it a little bit noisy, but again, subtlety is kind of the way forward for this sort of thing. So let's pull that back. Let's look at the bass control. Obviously I can pull it right down. Now you might think in isolation, how is that useful? But maybe in a mix you want something, particularly if you're playing with synth bass or an organ player who uses the pedals, and you want a brighter sound that's less muddy to cut through. Or maybe you want loads of low end to playing reggae kind of sound. So very powerful EQ, your mileage may vary in terms of how you want to use it. Turn the treble all the way, it's getting very hissy even without the tweeters very high on my speakers. So let's maybe use that a little bit more discretion. Up to about 2 o'clock it's not making any noise. Just gives it a bit of brightness to the bass. Now a little bit of treble reduction might be useful if you're primarily a pick player but you want it to sound like you're playing with your fingers. Maybe you're just much more confident playing with a pick. Or if you've got crazy bright fingertips like I seem to have, and you want it to sound less bright sounding, just roll the treble back a little bit more vintage sounding. All the way off. Just removes a little bit of the kind of finger noise and all that kind of stuff. So it's a very flexible pedal, certainly if you play a jazz bass, lots of great tones available from it. But let's see what it sounds like with a P bass. Now the first thing to notice with this American Special precision bass, even though I've got the pickup back quite a long way from the string, I've got flat wound strings on it, this has so much more output than the jazz bass. So I'm going to just turn the input down a little bit. Just keep things under control. Again, you could use it to level balance. So that's just kind of your natural tone again. Now you imagine if you've got overdrive on as well, then that would really give you that extra definition just by turning the treble up a little bit. And of course if you want that kind of metal scoops tone, turning the mids down a little bit, the bass and boosting the bass and the treble. So yeah, just that little bit of rolling off with a little bit of treble, adding a bit of bass, gives me more of that kind of subby tone that I may want, and just changes the whole frequency response of the bass in a positive way, I think. So really, yeah, it's a subtle pedal, but having some kind of EQ pedal is incredibly useful, and the added DI output features just really are great. You know, if you want to record bass or acoustic guitar, even will work with it. I've tried that. It gives you some powerful EQ settings, and you can really tweak the tone to be what you want it to be.